Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
You'd have beat him again if he hadn't bumped you. Nah, I didn't miss on purpose. Don't worry. I'll uphold the honor of the old outfit. Star, Vincent's my name, sharpshooting's my game. Try me.
All right, welcome to your first episode of 2024. Pint listeners, my name is John.
I'm Larry.
And you don't hear Lloyd here, and here's the reason why. We're going to fuck with Lloyd a little bit right now.
Let's do that.
Lloyd said to me, I said, Lloyd, let's record our first episode for 2024. And he said, I can't do it the week after Christmas, man. I'm just too busy. Too busy. Got too much going on, man. I said, okay, man. Okay, man. You can't put the pint before anything else. It's all too important. So I reached out to Larry and said, Larry, let's talk about a movie. And we'll do it on Thursday. And he said, sure, absolutely. Now, Larry, what happened in the interim and just the fact that you're still here is amazing.
Yeah, Jen exploded.
Larry's wife, Jen, exploded.
Yeah, she's, dude, honestly, I've lost all track of days. What was it, 2 days ago? Day after Christmas?
Day after Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, day after Christmas, I'm in bed, just sleeping early in the morning, and she calls me on my cell phone, which is weird because usually we're in the same bed at that time.
I would think so.
Yeah. So I look over to make sure she's not next to me, and she's not. So I said, hi, where are you? And she goes, I slept on the couch. My stomach hurts really bad. Okay. I'll come see you. And I went out there, and she was in tears, basically. A lot of pain. You know, I talked to her for a little bit. Immediately I went to appendix. I'm like, maybe appendix. I was like, well, either way, we're going to the hospital. I was like, let's just get dressed and we'll take you to the ER. Which, you know, anybody who's been to a hospital knows going in the ER is a fun 7 hours of waiting for anything. For anything.
It's a good time.
At all. Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah. So long story short, it was her gallbladder. And she had to have her gallbladder out. It was an emergent situation because it was inflamed. I guess anytime it starts, one of the stones was actually bigger than an inch, which they said must have been growing for like a decade, literally. Like she had a bag full of rocks in there, basically.
Wow.
And it was infected or inflamed, so they had to remove it. And she just got out of the hospital today. But here I am.
Here you are.
Unlike that handsome, ruggedly handsome gentleman that you normally do this show with, here I am.
Yeah, first episode of like what? I think our 7th year, 8th year. I don't even know what it is at this point, but it's a big deal. It's 2024. We're starting fresh.
Yeah.
And the Manster's playing Twister with his fucking family while Larry's here while his wife is upstairs, like holding her side and going, get me some pudding.
Yeah, she hates pudding, man. She would not want pudding.
No, maybe a clear soup. A
nice broth.
A nice broth. Yeah. Well, we wish Jen the best, and we love her, and I'm glad. Yeah, what a way to fucking celebrate Christmas. You know,
all that dry salad fucking got to her finally.
Yeah. That stone is probably.
She had lubricated. That stone was probably compressed lettuce.
You know what it was? It wasn't compressed lettuce. It was the acids from dressings normally take care of that like waste,
Sure.
And because she doesn't put dressing on her salad, she has just got like a gut full of like fucking hard rock shit in there. See?
She's going to love this episode, by the way.
Shake up a bottle of Zesty Italian next time, Jen. You won't go to the hospital the day after Christmas. 2024, and I said, hey, let's start the year off with an anniversary movie. The first movie I ever saw in the movie theaters. My parents took me to see this. I was 4 years old. So let's get into 1979's 45th anniversary celebrating, dun dun dun, The Black Hole.
Do you want me to get naked and start the revolution?
So, John, let me ask you a question, because my parents took me to see it too, but they're not around anymore, so I can't ask them any questions. Did your parents take you solely because it's a Disney movie, thinking that they were taking you to a children's movie?
I never asked them, but I can tell you this for sure. They had to drag me out of the theater at the end, and I'm going to jump way ahead because it's a 45-year-old movie, but when old Bob gets killed, I freaked the fuck out. They have told me this before, and I feel like via maybe me making it up in my head, I remember it, but they said we had to pull you out of the theater. Old Bob is a robot in this film. He dies gallantly at the end, and apparently it fucked my little 4-year-old brain up to the point where they had to pull me out. But as I think you're alluding to, what is like kind of the weirdness about this being a Disney movie, Larry, right?
Yeah, because John, before this, Disney was cartoons, bro.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Like, I mean, listen, I know not much about Disney. I would call Jen down here if she could walk down steps, but she can't. She knows Disney. She loves Disney. I am not lying to you when I say when it comes to the animated classics, the only one I've ever seen is Lady and the Tramp. I've never seen Bambi. I've never seen Cinderella, Snow White, all those fucking things. I'm not a Disney person. I'm assuming that pre-70s, everything Disney was those kind of classics, right? I don't think they made... This was their first PG, right? Everything was G before that. Maybe Herbie the Love Bug was before.
This is the first PG Disney movie. You're correct about that.
Yeah.
There were obviously live action films such as, Herbie the Love Bug and stuff like Kurt Russell, like the computer.
Song of the South. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Whoa.
Hey.
The computer wore tennis shoes, the Shaggy DA, right?
What the fuck is the Shaggy DA? Is that a dog who's a fucking district attorney? Please tell me it is.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Holy shit.
They not only was there an original in the 60s or 70s, but I think there was a Tim Allen remake in like the 2000s. I'm sure at some point during that movie too, he goes, huh? That's,
oh yeah. I fucking hate Tim Allen with a passion. Okay, so Disney had live action. So I'm a little wrong in that. They did have live action movies, but I'm assuming they were all G. Correct. So they were all geared. I saw Herbie the Love Bug, so I know that was a kid's movie. I'm assuming the rest were all kids' movies. So my assumption, because I'll tell you, I saw this in the movie theater as well. My parents took me to see it. I realized in watching it last night that I remember absolutely nothing of this movie because I haven't seen it since. But I found myself asking myself, why would my parents, 79, I must have been 6, December 18th, just 6. Okay. Why would my parents take me to see this? And I'm assuming because it was a Disney movie, probably a lot of parents were like, oh, this is a kid's movie.
Twofold answer on that. I think you're 100% right. Disney movie. 2 years prior, Star Wars came out. So even if you're not thinking of it, there was probably some portion of your little 6-year-old brain that was tied up in Star Wars, right?
Sure.
Space films and stuff. So yeah, this is one of those movies that kind of came out in that deluge of stuff afterwards. Buck Rogers, the television show, Battlestar Galactica. So yes, this is the first PG Disney movie ever. Reason why it's PG, the use of the words hell and damn quite a bit. Okay. Apparently in the old school before Disney Plus, when there was the Disney Channel, the version on the Disney Channel cut out all those references and a few other things to make it a G-rated watch on the Disney Channel. Now, there are other things in this film, like, and again, to jump into it a little bit, Anthony Perkins' death scene's horrifying in this movie.
But you don't really see it.
But for a Disney movie,
right? Absolutely, yeah.
As you said, people bring in this because it's a Disney film. Yep. It features cute little robots, and then all of a sudden, Anthony Perkins is getting fucking eviscerated through a book by blades, and then he falls into a lightning pit. I mean,
what was that? Was that where they threw the Emperor and fucking Star Wars? What was that?
Yeah. and again, we'll get to this towards the end.
Yeah.
But then there's like a full-on hallucination
I had
scene.
no recollection of that whole fucking shenanigans. I mean, like I said, I don't know about you. Well, it's a good question. Have you seen this since you saw it in the theater?
Yes, I have.
I have not. And I thought about it over the years because you see Maximilian, you see the robots. Matter of fact, didn't Reaction just put out the robots?
I bought the Maximilian, yeah.
Sure, yeah. So you see the robots, and the robots, iconic is a word that's thrown around a lot, so I'm not going to call them iconic. C-3PO is iconic. Right. But if you're a sci-fi guy or you grew up in the early 80s, you know those fucking robots. So it's kind of surprising to me that I never revisited this, that I never in the VHS days rented it or watched it anywhere. But I don't remember anything, dude. I watched the whole thing, and it was basically a first-time watch for me.
Well, that's cool. For me, it was not, and not to play out my cards with my rating, but I own the DVD, so I have watched this through the course of the years. As a child, I love this movie because I was 4 years old. I remember clearly, I had the Mego figures they made. I had the record book. Remember those record books?
I had a Hobbit one. I do remember those. Yeah.
I had the black hole. So, I mean, this was kind of big for me. So the Black Hole comes out on December 21st of 1979, 2 weeks after Star Trek, the motion picture. Now, the reason I bring that up right off the bat is these are, and we talked about this, we did a Star Trek, the motion picture episode years ago. And I'm curious about the version you saw, Larry. Yep. Did the version you saw start with a orchestral overture?
Yes.
Yeah. Star Trek the Motion Picture also starts with an orchestral overture, and they were two of the last main Hollywood movies that did that. And
it was like a 5-minute orchestral. I was like, all right, I've heard enough now.
Right.
We can pivot to the fucking film. And now that you say the release date, which I didn't look up previously, that's the day after my birthday.
So it was probably your birthday gift, or one of your birthday gifts.
My parents took me to see it for my birthday, which is quite fucking possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So December 21st, 79. First Disney PG film, as we mentioned. Directed by a guy named Gary Nelson, who would have also made for Disney.
The band Nelson, right? Didn't he?
He can't live without your love or affection.
He cannot.
Blonde hair down to his asshole.
Yeah.
He directed Freaky Friday in the 70s with Jodie Foster. And was that Jodie Foster? Right. And he also directed, I know, Larry, I have a feeling that you probably have seen this one a few times. I remember the name of it. A Gary Coleman picture called Jimmy the Kid.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. He directed Jimmy the Kid. And then in the 80s, he directed Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold. Yeah, I never saw those movies. Indiana Jones ripoffs.
Yeah.
So The Writers is a cavalcade of 70s television people.
I didn't know this backstory. And when I was reading about the backstory, the history of this movie, which I'm assuming we'll get into, I said to myself, you could do a whole separate podcast on just I won't even call it pre-production, but the pre-life of this movie. You could do a podcast on the movie itself, which we're about to do, and then a whole separate episode on how this movie came to be.
So I think the biggest thing to hit on that is that it was inspired by all of the disaster films from the 70s, all the Irwin Allen, Swarm and fucking Airport 77 and The Towering Inferno and Poseidon Adventure. And so here are the writing credits, and I'm just going to throw out some of the writers' television backgrounds. So the story was written by three guys. Jed Rosebrook, who was a writer and actually the showrunner on the 1990 The Outsiders television show. Obviously following the Outsiders movie, but it was 7 years later. He wrote on The Waltons. He also wrote on the Western show The Virginian.
Ugh.
Bob Barbash wrote on a show called Stony Brook, which I've never heard. I'm sorry, Stony Burke, which I've never heard of, but just sounds like a 70s cop show. Gunsmoke and Starsky and Hutch.
Okay.
Richard Landau was a writer on Mannix, on The Wild Wild West, and on Bonanza. So those are the guys that wrote the story for this together, or at different points had their input in. Now, the screenplay was by the first guy, Jeb Rosebrook, but then the guy that he wrote the screenplay with, and this goes to you, Larry, because I think this is important, was a guy named Jerry Day. Here are some of Jerry Day's credits. Barnaby Jones, Hawaii Five-0, and 4 episodes, and I have them written down here because I'm sure you know them all, of Little House on the Prairie. So here are the episodes that he wrote, and I want to see if you could, just by title, kind of remember the episode.
All right.
2 in season 1, 2 in season 2.
Oof, early ones.
Season 1, episode 5, The Love of Johnny Johnson.
Yeah, I can't say I remember it.
Not hitting you, okay.
Nope.
Season 1, episode 23, called To See the World.
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, I wonder if that's the one with the. I think it was season 1 with the kid who wanted to go travel with the circus, and he was practicing like a acrobat stunt and fell and went blind.
Everybody went blind in that fucking show.
So many people went blind. People went blind and then became not blind. Mary's husband was blind for some time and then not blind and then blind again.
Reblind.
Yeah.
Reblind.
Yeah. So that might be that one.
Season 2, episode 6, The Spring Dance.
I'll bet you there was a dance.
Yeah, I figured that.
Springtime. Probably
I figured
springtime.
that.
Other than that, I got nothing.
Season 2, episode 9, The Camp Out.
No.
All right. So the titles don't help.
No.
We know you've seen them 100 times.
I've probably seen every of course, seasons 1 and 2, I've definitely seen them multiple times.
This was filmed at Disney Studios in Burbank, California, between October 11th, 1978 and April 20th of 1979. I just want to throw this out there because I said I would never not talk about her on the show. October 11th, 1978 is one day after my wife Lindsay was born. She was born on October 10th, 1978. So this film started production the day after she was born. The concept art and the matte paintings in this film were done by a then retired artist named Peter Ellenshaw. He worked for Disney through the years, Treasure Island from 1950, Old Yeller, The Love Bug. His son, Harrison Ellenshaw, supervised all the matte paintings. There was 150 created for the film. Only 13 were used in the movie, but the matte painting work in this is pretty impressive. Second thing I want to point out is in the beginning of the movie, there is a green grid.
Not on the one I watched.
You didn't see that?
On Disney Plus, it's just a fucking black screen, and I was like, "What's happening?"
Well, no. After the overture, there's then like the green grid that like is during the credits, I believe.
Oh yeah, right. My bad.
That green grid in 1979 was the longest CG effect shot ever. That was computer generated imagery. Disney did not want to. They wanted to do this entirely in-house in Disney. They could have used Industrial Light and Magic. They chose not to. So the Disney Imagineers, whatever you want to call those guys, created a system called ACES, ACES, Auto Camera Effect System. The way this system worked was that it would combine actors and matte paintings together through the use of double exposure photography. So essentially, like the scene, like I'm going to give you one scene in particular, where they're running across that bridge and the flaming meteorite is coming at them. Yep. That's a painting with an actual like model ball, and then the actors are somehow superimposed through this camera system on that. And this is done through this movie quite a bit. So it was inventive use of something new. And then just real quick on the comic book side, one of these things I knew, one I did not. The one I knew was that Whitman Comics in 1980 did a 4-issue series of The Black Hole. The first 2 issues adapted the movie. Issues 3 and 4 extended the story. Okay? Issue 4 is incredibly hard to find. If you're ever at a VFW show and you're going through the bins and you find Black Hole issue 4, buy it, no matter what condition it's in. It was canceled after the 4th issue. In some foreign language countries, I think I read Germany and Mexico, a 5th and 6th issue were published, but they're like super hard to find. The part I didn't know, which I found really interesting, was Disney used to have a comic strip in the papers that was made essentially to promote their movies. It was called Walt Disney's Treasury of Classic Tales. Comic strip for this movie ran for 26 weeks in the papers when the movie came out or right before it came out. That's all interesting and all, but you know who did the art for it? Jack fucking Kirby.
Oh, shit.
Did the art for the black hole. And I looked it up and it's all Kirby art. It looks fucking great. I never knew that at all. I don't know if it's collected. If it's collected, I got to find it because that's pretty fucking amazing.
Wow.
All right, now that we've gone through all that, Larry, why don't we talk about who's in this thing?
Assemble your crew.
Sure. It's not very many people. It's a small cast, so we'll probably just go through everybody. Leading off, I'd say, the most successful, especially at that time of the bunch, Maximilian Schell as Dr. Hans Reinhardt, Oscar winner for which movie did he win an Oscar for? Judgment at Nuremberg, where he played Hans Rolf. I, of course, know him, and you should as well, as Larry London from The Freshman with Matthew Broderick. But
I only saw that
if you've never seen that movie. I enjoy. That's one of those guilty. I know it's not a good movie, like those movies where you're just like, this isn't good. But I just love it. I've probably seen it like 30 fucking times. It was one of those movies. Every time it was on HBO, I would leave it on no matter where the fuck it was. Even though I hate Bruno Kirby, I still watch it. And he's in it. Maximilian Schell is in it as some weird chef / scientist. Whatever. That's a strange movie. So we move on to Anthony Perkins as Dr. Alex Durant. If you don't know Anthony Perkins, get off my show. Robert Forster as Captain Dan Holland. I'd say he's the lead. This movie doesn't really have a pronounced lead, but I'd say it's him if you forced me to pick a lead.
He's the captain, and he's probably the guy we go to the most, but you're right. There isn't really a lead in this per se.
Yeah. So Robert, Jackie Brown. Robert from Jackie Brown. Joseph Bottoms as Lieutenant Charlie Pfizer. You probably don't know him. I don't know him. I don't think anybody knows him. I don't think he's ever been in anything again. Kind of hope he hasn't.
He has.
Go ahead. What do you got?
He has one. There's one thing about him that is, I guess, remarkable in the sense of this movie is he is the only cast member that's still alive.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess so, huh? Yvette Mimieux? Fuck if I know if that's right. If that's how you say it. As Dr. Kate McRae, who I'd like to spend some time discussing.
Yes, me too.
As we go through this episode. You may know her from the Time Machine, H.G. Wells' Time Machine.
You know what's interesting about
she was replaced. She was a replacement, right?
Jennifer O'Neill was hired to play. So the original concept of this movie, in the beginning of the movie, when they're on their ship, the Palomino, they're in zero gravity.
Mm-hmm.
The whole movie was supposed to take place in zero gravity, but they realized it would have been too hard budgetarily. So they decided that when the Palomino docks with the Cygnus, that they were going to have gravity, make it easier for them. Jennifer O'Neill was hired to play that role, but she had long, luxurious hair. And they were like, you've got to cut your hair because if we're going to do this, it's going to make it too crazy for us to figure out how the hair reacts. And she was like, no fucking way am I cutting my hair. So they finally talked her into it. And she had her own personal stylist and hair cutter, a guy named Vidal Sassoon, come to the where they were shooting to give her a trim to get it short. And she was apparently drinking wine to like dull the pain of her beauty going away. So apparently after a couple inches off, she got up and kind of freaked out and left. Well, they kind of seemed like they covered it up, but she got into a bad car wreck, probably drunk driving. And Disney just decided to like let her go and just say, okay, because apparently she even filmed like pre-camera work and stuff. But she got so upset over her haircut. Now, even more interesting is the first person they wanted to hire and the reason they didn't hire her. And you read this one?
Yeah, I did.
Sigourney Weaver,
right.
who at this point had not done Alien yet, even though it was the same year.
Right.
They wanted to hire her, but the casting director said her name was too unusual and it wouldn't work on posters or on a marquee, so they skipped over on her.
Right. the foresight.
Yeah.
You're such a thinker. So yeah, she's Dr. Kate McCrae, whatever. Hamden, Connecticut's own Ernest Borgnine.
Yep, that's right.
You might know him from a lot of things. You know him as God in 2 episodes of Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he was. Or you know him as the cabbie from Escape from New York. You know Ernest Borgnine. This may very well be his worst piece of acting in his long, luxurious career.
It's so confused. This movie's confusing.
Yeah,
because
and he's just, I'll say it, he's flat out terrible.
Yeah,
in this movie. Like, I picked Harry Booth's busted leg as my name for tonight's recording. I almost put Ernest Borgnine's puzzled look because it's just, that's his look in the whole fucking film. He's just confused through the whole fucking movie.
Everybody in
confused in his whole performance.
Everybody in this movie of the crew is dressed like a crew of a spaceship, and he's dressed like somebody's grandfather. He's got like this brown outfit on, just like, and also I don't get it either, because there's a lot of things I don't get in this movie, and one of them is there's some kind of like scientific expedition.
Why is there a journalist on board? It's never explained.
Yeah, right, and how does he know? Like, I mean, I guess if you're a journalist and you're going to go on a ship for an extended period of time, you should know things. But like, he's fixing shit on the ship, like he's part of the crew. He's a fucking newspaper writer. Yeah, which makes no sense.
Roddy McDowell as the voice of Vincent, who's a fucking robot with stupid eyes. Roddy McDowell from Fright Night, if you know anything. And the voice of Old Bob, who made John cry.
Fucking cried my ass off.
Is Slim Pickens.
Yeah.
You know Slim Pickens. But my favorite, who I never knew this, is Captain Stars, played by Tommy McLaughlin. Who wrote and directed Jason Lives. Yes, and also did One Dark Night, which is not as well known a horror film. But Tommy McLaughlin's long standing in the horror genre, and he plays Captain Star, Star, the fucking shoot 'em up.
He's the precursor to Maximilian.
Yeah, something. That's pretty much the whole cast. I don't think there's anybody else in this movie, thank God.
All right. Well, I think it's important that before we start talking about this movie, I throw this out there. Everybody's favorite astrophysicist / celebrity scientist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, has said that this is the most scientifically inaccurate movie of all time.
Oh, yeah.
The only other
I'm not a scientist.
No, me neither.
And I know that.
Yeah. The only other one that he says might compete with this is Armageddon. He's like, Armageddon's bullshit too.
I don't know if that's the one with Bruce Willis, right?
Yeah.
I never saw it. I never watched it.
Oh, it's a good one.
I watched Deep Impact. Wasn't that the same year? Like, there's always enough, those two fucking.
Yes.
Same
year.
I always go back to Big Trouble in Little China and The Golden Child.
Yes.
Those two came out the same year. There's always those two fucking movies.
Remember in the 80s when there was like 19 body switching movies at the same time? Yeah.
Oh,
vice
Cameron.
versa. Yeah. Father like son. Yeah.
Dudley Moore.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? Judge Reinhold, right? Like,
Fred Savage. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Had one of those fucking movies. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, that was later. That was Freaky Friday
remake. That's right. That was later.
And actually, funnily enough, you mentioned Deep Impact. Maximilian fucking Schell.
Yes, he's in that. He's in that.
He's the father. He's Tia Leone's father.
He'd gotten big. I wouldn't call him fat. He'd just gotten big, like thick.
Yeah. Thick. I like my Maximilian Schell thick.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that the science in this movie is bullshit. So we start off on the Palomino, and it is a space exploratory vessel that is manned by all the people we just talked about for the most part, including Vincent, the robot who is essentially R2-D2 for this film.
Yeah.
And as they're going through space, they suddenly come across a black hole. All kinds of shenanigans start happening. Vincent has to go outside to repair, a panel. So a lot of things are going on. But I want to skip through all of this right off the bat, because I want to talk about what I think you want to talk about, Larry, is what the fuck is with the ESP and the robots?
Oh, God. So, okay, yeah. So, Like but even before that happens, there is just already questionable shit. Like, so you said the robots outside right before the ESP part. The robots outside and fucking Bottoms, Lieutenant Charlie, is like, we gotta go get him. And Forster's like, sit your ass down. It's like, you have no heart. I'm like, guys, it's a small robot with stupid eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, like, but they all love him so much, man.
Holy shit. And, I have to talk about these eyes. He could have been a cool-looking robot. The concept was good, because, like, basically you take R2-D2, right, short and stout, and, like, they're like, we'll make him fly. Like, that's fucking cool, right?
Yeah,
like,
he's got, like, magnet feet.
Yeah, but he's flying around, and I'm like, this is good. And then you see his stupid... You know what his eyes are? Those googly eyes that you put on shit.
Yeah.
That's basically what his eyes are. Who made this choice?
Yeah.
Who was designing and said, I got a great idea for this robot. Let's make this Maximilian robot giant, fucking scary, with this, like, Knight Rider kit fucking car, eye sheath, round, back and forth. And then we'll take the little guy and put these fucking stupid googly eyes on him.
Well, let's go one level past the googly eyes. Why is Vincent designed to essentially have that rate? Like, he's designed to almost be like one of the Three Stooges, where, like, when he gets afraid of something, the top of his head lifts up. There's no function for that.
No.
But, like, it's literally like he's like a cartoon character where it's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Fucking.
Yeah. He's a Tex Avery cartoon for no fucking reason. Like, I wish there was a part in the movie where the dome actually lifted up and then, like, something came out of it and you're like, oh, that's why it does that. No, it just does it for him to be cute. Because they were trying to make a cute robot for this movie.
Because it's Disney, probably. And they were like, oh, we got to have something cute for the kids in here.
Got to sell those Mego figures, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then, like you said, the most important thing. So this guy flips out. He's like, we got to get him. And fucking Robert Forster's like, sit down, asshole. And then Dr. Kate is like, hold on. I'll talk to him.
No, it's even better. It's even better. Forster, Captain Dan Holland, the movie feels like it stops when he says it, because even though we're in an outer space movie at this point, everything seems grounded-ish.
Yeah.
Kind of like, okay, it's just a space mission, and it feels like we're in a future timeline. But then he goes, Kate, use your ESP to contact Vincent. And then I'm like, what happened? Because it seems like no matter how many times I've seen this movie, I forget. Yeah. I forget that. And then she does, like, they have this kind of, like, scene that, like, comes in on her sideways and goes in and she starts to contact Vincent. And then Vincent's googly eyes turn red in the center. Later in the movie, there is a throwaway line on the ship, on the Cygnus, that I think Dr. Hans Reinhardt mentions about, like, the amazing work with ESP and the robots on Earth. And I'm like, so she only has ESP with robots? It's so fucking confusing, and they never explain any of it in the movie.
No, there's a lot that they never explain. Maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, I think it might be for the best.
Can we just talk about how confusing it is to have ESP connection with a robot?
Well, I agree, Larry. I agree.
Is it not one of the craziest premises you've ever fucking heard? This happens, like, 10 minutes in?
Yeah.
And I was like, if I didn't have a fucking podcast to do, I would shut this off right now. And I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't get offended by things that are scientifically, like, I remember he tore apart, what was the Sandra Bullock space?
Gravity.
Movie? Yeah, he tore that apart. And he also tore apart Titanic because the stars weren't right.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, you're going too far. Like, you're trying too hard, as my daughter would say. It's too much. Like, I don't care about the science that much. I can suspend, my beliefs for a film. But when you're telling me that you have ESP connection with a robot, I know what ESP is. It has to be between people because a robot's not a sentient being. Like, okay, where's Joe? He's a scientist. Can we get him on?
This is almost as weird as Joe's.
Can we phone a friend?
This is almost like Joe's HVAC having a sentient connection with your fucking landline.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Maybe this isn't so far-fetched then.
I'm glad that you're at least able to kind of get past that, though, because I'm telling you right now, if Lloyd did do this episode with us, that would have been the end of the movie for him. He would never be able to get past the ESPN robot thing, which granted, shouldn't be gotten past. It's stupid.
No, I honestly would have shut it off.
Yeah.
I would have just given up. Like, I'm sure a 6-year-old me seeing this in the theater was fine with it, but a 50-year-old me got a little upset. I got more upset than any non-scientist should have. I'm on Neil deGrasse Tyson's side. I've never really taken his side before. I like him a lot, but when he gets mad at movies, I'm like, who cares? I don't care if the stars are wrong in the Titanic. What the fuck do I care?
I don't even know if that's his main problem with this movie. I almost feel like his main problem, and I'm jumping way ahead.
There's more. Yeah, you're right.
Has to be the fact that when
are we going to say it?
Let's just say it
now. Okay.
When the hull is destroyed on the Cygnus, there's no atmospheric problems at all. It's like a
John,
wind vacuum.
They walk outside to board the other ship.
Yeah.
It's
ridiculous.
Outside to board the other ship. And mind you, they have no suits on.
No, I know.
They're just walking around in space. Hey, hi, we're going to get on the other ship now.
Hey, it's time for a nice little spacewalk with zero atmosphere.
Listen, I've seen Total Recall. I know. I know what happens when space gets to you. Like your eyes pop out of your head, and you make that Schwarzenegger face. They were just walking around. Yeah. Not to mention they were also like a foot away from a meteor. A few minutes, They were basically doing the Raiders of the Lost Ark, like running from the giant meteor. Which, listen, I know that this is supposed to be like a technological phenomena. This movie, but it looked like a fucking Planters cheese ball.
Oh, see, I thought that looked good. I thought
it looked like a Planters cheese ball. Not the Cheetos ones. It had to be the Planters in the blue can.
Blue can.
That's what it looked like.
Bro, with the top that rips off. I miss those.
And so it was chasing them, right? And then they get away from it, but it still zips right past them. They don't get burned.
No, nothing bad happens to anybody while the ship is falling apart into a black hole.
But as the meteor rolled by them, Lieutenant Charlie turned around with his gun like he was going to shoot it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go back because we just went ahead like an hour. All right.
Let's jump back a little bit. Okay, so the Palomino finds this ship on the edge of a black hole.
That's the event horizon, right?
It is the event horizon. Right on the edge where it can't get sucked in. And they start to do their little identifier. They're trying to figure out what ship it is. I like that scene, the kind of like that superimposing of the different ships and that whole noise. Yep. And then they discover it's the Cygnus. And Dr. Kate's father was a crew member on the Cygnus. The Cygnus disappeared 20 years ago, and it was assumed to be lost in space, essentially. Mm-hmm. But here it is sitting on the outside. So they decide we're going to go board it and check it out. As they approach it, this dark giant ship suddenly lights up like a Christmas tree, as they actually say in the movie, like a Christmas tree. And they end up landing on the ship. They have to be very cautious. They see nobody on it. So they get out, and there's like this fucking alpine slide that takes you all around the ship. They get out. They tell Charlie, you watch the Palomino. We're going to go in. As soon as they go into the ship, they're holding their guns, and some invisible sniper shit knocks all their guns out of their hands, and also just blasts Vincent to shit, because he has guns in him. Basically, they've been disarmed. They get on the alpine slide, and they start going for a ride, and they end up eventually at the bridge, the command center of the bridge. The bridge is filled with a bunch of what appear to be cloaked robots. That's what we think. Also on the bridge is the badass robot Maximilian, who scared the fuck out of me as a kid. Giant red thing floats, and he has flippers on his legs that help him fly around different directions. And he's got, like Larry said, the Cylon look going on with the light. Yeah. And we meet.
Oh, Cylons. Fuck, I forgot about those. Battlestar Galactica, right?
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I used to watch that as a kid. That's another thing I haven't seen since I was a kid.
You're better off. You're way better off.
Doesn't age well.
Doesn't hold up.
That's unfortunate. I really enjoyed that as a kid.
Yeah, it's like the A-Team, man. I love the A-Team as a kid, and that's straight up.
I've watched a few
stupid.
episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is not good.
This is not good.
I prefer Mr. T and DC Cab now. Like,
no authorities could find the A-Team, but you could hire them because they're in every fucking, like, the back pages of every fucking local newspaper.
Right.
So they meet Maximilian Schell's character, Dr. Hans Reinhardt. He is this kind of mad science-y type, like character who has basically said, I didn't get the recall orders from Earth, and the crew all went home, and your father didn't make it home. What happened to the crew? I don't know. They were all supposed to have gone home years ago, and that must not have happened. He's lying. Fucking liar.
Right. Anthony Perkins is fucking in love.
Dude, Anthony Perkins, and we know this in real life too, wants to suck his dick. Like, Anthony Perkins is like, oh my God, Dr. Hans, Dr. Hans, I want to fucking throttle your cock with my mouth.
In love.
He's so into him. He's like he's like a crazy abused girlfriend. He meets him, and like two hours later, he's like, I'm staying with him on the outskirts of a black hole.
Yep. And Hans is like, damn right you are. Like, he's into it too.
Yeah.
But definitely he's definitely a top.
Yeah.
And Perkins is a bottom.
Perkins is a bottom. So basically he tells everybody, look, you can use any parts you want on the ship to get the Palomino running again, because it incurred some damage during this whole thing. But you're my guest. Chill out, hang out. Just don't go floating around on your own, right? And he's got like this robot crew of sentry warriors that, like, I had the action figures for when I was a kid, thought they were badass. They're not very cool, but so he's got this whole little army on this ship. But of course, immediately everybody but Anthony Perkins is like, this guy's a little suspect. Something's going on here, but we don't know what. And he just keeps on spouting out about how he just really wants to fucking go into this black hole. Eventually, he wants to learn all about what's on the other side of this black hole. So we're getting towards that.
He says he spent the last 20 years charting the black hole and figuring out how to do it. Like, he's now knows how to do it. He's figured it out, and now it's time. And Perkins is like, I'll go with you.
I'll go.
No, can't wait.
I'll go.
Psyched. Let's go.
He has a probe ship that he utilizes at one point, and we see that, like, he sends one of his robotic quotation marks helpers to go, like, to the outskirts of the black hole and bring him back information. So that's kind of what's going on one end. On the other end, the crew is trying to fix the Palomino, and also they start to snoop around. Larry, what are a couple of the things they see that starts to make them think things aren't what they're saying they are?
This is where they find Bob, right? Like, when they're snooping around, Bob comes up and oh God, dude, so much weird shit happens. I don't remember, like, where anything is. This where the shooting gallery scene is? Like,
they drop Vincent off at the robot arcade.
Yeah, basically there's like a target practice, and Tom McLaughlin's character, who is Captain Starr, the precursor to Maximilian, showing everybody what a great shot he is, and then Bob, who is basically Vincent but like a battered version of him.
Yeah, he's an older model,
and like, he's been beaten, right? Let's call it what it is. Like, he's a beaten wife, basically. Somebody's given him the fucking run through.
He shakes at different points. He's like, ah.
Right. So he says that he beat Star, and Star punished him or whatever. So then Bob plays against. I don't know why any of this is happening, frankly. I don't. I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm like, it looks like they're all missing the targets. I'm like, I don't know. And by the way, all these things have worse aim than stormtroopers. Awful. So that happens. Oh, they stumble across the okay, so there's a few things. They stumble across the garden. Han says, oh yeah, the garden used to be a lot bigger when we had human crew, but now that it's just me, the garden's a lot smaller. And fucking Ernest Borgnine's like, I don't know, that's a pretty fucking big garden. And then I'm looking at the garden and I'm like, well, thank God he's growing palm trees.
Yeah, I don't know how much food was in there.
Well, I mean, there was definitely like vegetation, like there was food growing, but there's also palm trees. I'm like, why is he growing fucking palm trees?
He's like for absolutely no reason at all, I have an entire acre of poison ivy.
Yeah. Like, I can't believe he's got palm trees. So then Ernest Borgnine's like, kind of bullshit. And then Ernest Borgnine again sees one of the quote unquote robots walking away with a limp.
Right.
And he's like, hey, what the fuck is with that? And he tries to chase the guy. And then at some point, Hans catches wind of all these people snooping around. And he's like, all right, time to put a fucking stop to this bullshit. But then the probe's on its way back with more information, right? So he stops his I think he's about to kill them. I don't know what the fuck he's going to do. He's about to end the whole fucking charade, but then the probe is coming back and that kind of interrupts him.
So yeah, some strange things are afoot at the Circle K here on the Cygnus.
The robots were having a funeral.
Yeah, Dan Holland stumbles across the robot funeral, which he's like, it was way too reverential to be a robot thing. It seemed like it was like for a person. He goes in someone's room and finds a bunch of like jackets that have like US patches on them.
Yes, that's right.
Right. So they're getting very suspect of what's going on in the ship, and then to make it even more suspect, I don't understand this at all. But for some reason, Bob seems to be like, for whatever he is, he knows so much that's going on in the ship.
Everything.
Like, you would think they would have like identified the fact that he wasn't like part of like clearly Star like abused him. You would think they would just destroy him, because Bob just comes out and tells Vincent everything. Here's the deal. All right, you ready? The crew have all died, right? Out here. He has lobotomized them and made them into like fucking slave labor, right? So they're people underneath those masks. They're not robots. He's out of his fucking mind. Maximilian is even worse, and they don't seem to even like each other. That's something that's kind of underplayed through the whole thing, is Maximilian kind of seems to, even though he never says a word, like resent. But it's like, it's not like he's like his loyal robot, because he does things things repeatedly that he has to yell at him for, you know? So Bob just comes out and tells Vincent all this. Now, this is the second point the robot ESP comes into play, because while this is all going on, Anthony Perkins and Dr. Kate are hanging out with Hans on the bridge. Holland is like, after Vincent tells him this, he's like, you need to tell Kate with your ESP. It's total plot armor, this whole ESP thing. Right. You need to tell Kate that she's got to meet us back at the Palomino. We got to take off because this guy's a fucking nut job. He tells her, he's like, Reinhardt's insane and he's going to kill you guys, and the people aren't robots. She takes Anthony Perkins aside and is like, I got to talk to you over here. And they go over and she's like, and she tells him, and he is balls deep in love with Hans, but he's like, all right, I'm going to figure this out on my own. So he goes over to one of the robots, quote unquote. And what does he do, Larry?
He snatches the glass shield off his face, like the mirrored mask off of his face. It's a corpse. It's like kind of a corpse. I don't know, like a zombie looking. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's a human face. It's definitely a human face.
Can I explain it as yet again something that's too frightening for a Disney movie that you might bring a kid to?
Yeah.
That's totally. Also, that one scene is also the director Gary Nelson in a cameo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So now he sees this, and now all of a sudden, Anthony Perkins, who's this like brilliant scientist, his whole worldview has been shot because the man that he met 26 minutes ago and fell in love with has been lying to him.
Yeah.
So he kind of like starts calling him out. And as soon as he starts calling him out, we get clearly what's probably up to this point the most frightening scene of any Disney movie of all time. Maximilian comes floating down from the rafters. The coolest part about Maximilian is he has these little fucking arms that pop up, and they have these 3 blades on them, and they spin like helicopter rotors. And the only thing Anthony Perkins has to protect himself with is like a copy of like, I don't know, like the Necronomicon or something. And he holds it up, and Maximilian just fucking decimates him. Yeah. You don't see blood or anything, but you kind of hear this noise. And then, as we mentioned, he falls into the pit where the Emperor is also falling and electrocuting everything with force magic. And Hans is like, well, why did you do that, Maximilian? And then there's the other weird part where he whispers to Kate and he's like, Maximilian is trying to kill me, or something like that. You remember that?
Yeah. And they don't follow up. It was, I think it was right in that scene. Like,
yeah, protect me from Maximilian is what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, and he's like, why did you do that? Like, what do you mean? Like, he's your robot. You wanted him dead. Okay. There's a lot of kind of things that don't jibe quite well. And that whole scene, like, you know, those lines just don't make sense in the context of the rest of the movie. I mean, maybe because he's crazy, like they'd said he was crazy. I don't know. I can't make fucking heads or tails of it. I will say though, that as scary as I thought Maximilian was as a child, the fact that his 6-inch arms can only go up and down, like, is kind of like, I think I can get out of his way. Like, I don't see him as much of a threat, really. Like, if he's coming at me with the propellers, I'll just like turn to the side and get in the middle of him, and the propellers will just go on either side of me.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, to jump ahead again, at the end of the movie, when Vincent does finally beat him, that's what he does. Vincent just puts his head down and hits him in the chest, pushes him back, and then Vincent like rights himself up, and then there's no other way to put it. He drills him to death with Vincent's cock. Like this cock comes out of Vincent, and he does the same thing that Maximilian did to Perkins to Maximilian. So this next section of the movie we get here is kind of like the damsel in distress section, where we have to have the heroic rescue, right? Because once Perkins gets killed and the jig is up,
they cover Kate's head in tinfoil.
Yeah, they're gonna do the same thing to Kate. Yeah. But as she's put on the electro conveyor lobotomy belt, you know, Holland and Pfizer and everybody show up, and we get like a kind of a big like action sequence, a lot of laser blasts, a lot of it. It's fine. It's, you know, Holland's wrestling one of the fucking robot guards and spins him over onto the lobotomy belt, and the little laser that was supposed to kill Kate blows the thing's face up. So now we're moving into where everything is coming to a head in the film. The Cygnus is starting to float into the black hole, so it's starting to fall apart from the outside. Hence all the shitty science.
Has Harry Booth broken his leg yet?
No, I forgot about that. Please, Larry, please tell us about Harry Booth and his leg. I forgot all about that.
So in the ensuing chaos, right? Like where you just were, like everything starts to just get fucking crazy, right? This is the culmination. This is, all right, now everybody knows everything and everybody's going to fight, and robots are fighting humans, and Hans is trying to kill everybody, and whatever. Maximilian's trying to kill people. It's Charlie, Lieutenant Charlie, and Harry Booth are running. Somebody shoots at one of them or something, and Harry Booth falls down, and he's like, I can't get back up. He's like, I'm fucking done for. That's it. Whatever.
Holland sends the two of them back to the ship to get the ship ready.
Yeah.
While they go to get Kate.
Right.
And they're going to get the ship ready. But Harry at one point is like, let's just fucking go. And Pizer's like, no, we're not leaving. We're waiting for everybody.
Right. So Harry basically pretends that his leg's busted, ends up making off with the ship himself.
Yeah.
He pretends his leg's fucking busted. Pizer, does he go to get help? I don't remember what he goes for. But while Pizer's turned around, basically, Harry just gets up, leg's fine, fucking dances a little jig, and then fucking runs into the ship, you know, and takes off, because clearly the journalist can pilot this ship.
Dude, he flies that ship like a journalist.
Well, he only gets about 6 feet right before the fucking thing explodes.
He gets out of the launching bay, and then it just tips over, and then he just flies it right into the Cygnus. I think what starts all the shit with the Cygnus blowing up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Harry tries to, Harry's a good guy through the whole, I don't know why he needed the heel turn, but
it's a big heel turn. Whenever I think of that movie, I always think of Ernest Borgnine as like the coward, because that's what he does, you know. And like, what was his play? He's a writer for like the Chicago Tribune. Right. Even if he launched the ship, how is he going to get it back to fucking Earth?
He's going to fly it from this fucking black hole,
right,
back home to Earth.
You know what would have been a better plot device is if he got a hold of a gun and took Charlie hostage. and said, "You're flying us back to Earth." That would have made more sense.
Yes.
Instead of like him.
We're leaving Kate and we're leaving fucking Holland. You're flying me right now. Let's fucking.
We're going.
Yep.
Let's go home. Let's
that
fucking
would have made that they could have used you in the writer's room.
They did not. They did not.
Film.
At the very least, at least they didn't like make him get away. Like it was true to sport where like he takes, like you said, he takes off, he's 8 feet in the air and the ship just fucking crashes into the other ship.
And everybody watches it happen.
Yeah.
They're like, oh man, come on. Come on, Harry.
But Holland is smart. He knows there's an answer to still get off the Cygnus. What is the answer, Larry?
What was it? It was another ship. The
probe ship.
The probe ship. That's right. The probe had returned with the information that Hans needed, and Holland knew that they could take the fucking probe and get out of there.
Right, because there's only 3 of them left and Vincent. So you got Holland, you got Kate, you got Pfizer, and so they know they can get on this probe ship.
Yep.
So everything is going fucking crazy on this thing. Maximilian eventually, throughout all this, gets killed by Vincent. Dr. Hans Reinhardt gets killed by a 62-inch flat screen TV.
Oh my God, dude. I'm like, I'm sorry, hold on. Our main nemesis, like the main bad guy in this movie, got killed because a television fell on him?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And he's like, help me. And of course, none of the fucking the corpse dudes are like going to help him because he's like, you made me a corpse dude, bitch. I'm not helping you. And Maximilian is just like, he's still alive at this point. He's like, fuck off. Yeah. Maximilian is kind of like Starscream to Megatron in this movie. Like he just doesn't seem to really give a fuck about Hans. So Hans dies. And now we get the big scene that's filled with scientific bullshit where the hull is ripping apart. They're going outside to get in other ships. Yeah. The worst that's happening at different points is they're getting kind of sucked. When they get into the garden, they start to get sucked into space, but that never even comes to fruition.
Right. There's a meteor shower, a meteor storm.
Full on meteor.
Yeah. And, we didn't talk about Vincent enough, I don't feel like, in this episode, and his stupid fucking sayings.
Like the cans, the won'ts, and the wills, and
he's like a fucking fortune cookie. Like,
yeah.
Oh, he's so goddamn annoying. But at one point he yells something about a meteorite. And listen, I'm no Stephen Hawking, but goddamn if I don't know a meteorite is only a meteorite when it breaches the Earth's fucking atmosphere. It's a meteor when it's in space, you fucking robot. You should know that. No, Vincent doesn't know shit like that. Vincent just knows like witty and pithy sayings. Oh, dude. And that was the other thing. Like several times in this movie, they refer to the sky. Like, oh, the fucking sky. That's not the sky. The sky is our atmosphere. You're in space, you fucking assholes.
Yeah. Well, again, this may be more of the stuff that Neil deGrasse Tyson can't stand about this movie. So they eventually get to the probe ship and they take off.
Yep.
And they're trying to get away from the Cygnus, which is falling into the black hole. And they can't. And they also can't get out of the gravity of the black hole.
Right.
So they just decide...
they're like, fucking Hans said that this can be done, so...
Right. There's a course... We can't change the course. There's a course laid in, and unfortunately, the course that's laid in is the last course that Hans had laid in, which he was planning on going through the black hole.
Right.
So
basically, it's like, let's see how smart the fucking guy is. Like,
yeah.
You have no other choice.
Let's check it out. Yep. So simultaneously, two things start to happen at this point. This is the part of the movie that if you drop acid, you drop acid. Because we get their trip through the black hole, which is a lot of like them spinning around and a lot of noise and a lot of like kind of hallucinations. They actually go through this like weird crystalline little archway that's like very heavenly. But Larry, again, talking about weird stuff in a Disney movie, talk about like the kind of devilish Satan-y imagery that happens all of a sudden here. What that scene has always stuck in my head. And every time I see this movie, I forget about how fucking weird it is.
Dude, so they start going into the hole, and we have to listen to the voices in their head for a while, right? Isn't that what's happening? Like, we're listening to their thoughts.
You also kind of hear dialogue from earlier in the movie.
Right.
I think there's one point you hear Charlie say, Christmas tree, like from earlier. Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then there's all this. Well, first, hold on. Isn't Hans and Maximilian like become one?
Yeah.
Right? They like
He's inside. Now, this is kind of funny. Maximilian Shell is inside Maximilian's shell. Yeah, you see Maximilian, and then they do a close-up of his eyes, and you see it's Hans, the doctor, the Reinhardt in there. But then you get this really fucking bizarre, essentially like Maximilian on top of like a mountain in hell, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see all these people that look like the humanoids with the cloaks on that are like, it's fucking weird. There's no other way to describe it.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain.
I can't imagine how many, like you said, how many parents of kids brought their kids to this movie in 1979 because it had the Disney name on it, and then are trying to explain to their kid on the way home the fucking, like, the stark hell imagery that they show at the end of this movie. It's so fucking weird.
The whole movie is just shocking, strange, shockingly bizarre.
So they go through the black hole, and they eventually end up alive and on the other side, and that's how the movie ends. It kind of ends with them erupting through the black hole, and then you just see the probe ship heading towards what looks like a planet with a star.
Yep.
So they have gone onto the other side of the black hole. Is it
Earth?
I don't know. Is it another Earth? I don't know. Is it the Earth that Jason X takes place on later in the movie? I don't fucking know.
Maybe.
It's an Earth.
Or did they travel through time? I don't.
Yeah, well, the movie doesn't tell you because the movie just ends right there. Now, I will say this. In the novelization by Alan Dean Foster, who everybody who knows, like novelizations of movies knows that name. He did Alien. He did a million things. He wrote into the ending that the three humans and Vincent kind of pull a Maximilian and Hans and become one being and come through the black hole as like a new form of life. He also took great umbrage with the scientific issues, and in his novel apparently explains a lot of the weird things that happen because he thought it was fucking dumb. He's like, this script is fucking not good. So when I write the novel, I'm going to leave your stuff in there. So like, I'm sure I'm sure the hull breach is still in there, but maybe he has written a reason in as to why they're able to survive. Maybe there's like an invisible force shield or something. Maybe the ESP with the robots is in there, and instead of a throwaway line, maybe there's an actual like chapter or subplot about it. I don't know. Probably never going to read it. So that's 1979's The Black Hole, your first episode of the Pint for this year, celebrating 45 years.
We're sorry. We're sorry.
Maybe we're sorry. Let's talk about the box office.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
All right, so this was 1979. I don't have anything for the weekend or anything like that, but I can tell you this: $20 million budget looks good for a $20 million budget in 1979. It made $36 million in the U.S. and Canada. Here is 1979's top 5 in the box office that year. Number 5, $79 million for the year, Alien. And if you're a fan of Alien, this year on Alien Day, we will be doing Alien. So we're going to do Alien. Number 4, we talked about it earlier. It made $82 million. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Number 3, $85 million. Rocky 2. Rocky 2.
All
right. You should invest in condominiums. I don't use them.
Hey, Mr. Tiger, we're getting married. Hey, yo, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind marrying me very much. I love Rocky. I don't care what anybody says.
I did too. Number 2, a film that we will be finishing off this year on the Pint Insider Patreon, Scary Larry's House of Horrors Classics. The last episode we'll be doing the Amityville Horror. It made $86 million that year.
Oof.
And the number 1 film of 1979, which is crazy. This shows how much movies made back then, and also shows how long, well, it more shows how long they ran back then.
Yeah.
The number 1 movie of 1979 was released in December of 1978. Larry, do you have any guesses to what it was?
It's December 78. Ran for a fucking year.
It was the number one movie of 79.
No, I got nothing.
You'll Believe a Man Can Fly.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that.
Superman.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Came out in December of 78, and it fucking rocked the box offices in 79.
I saw that in the drive-in, as well as Star Trek, as well as Alien. These were all probably, which is weird that I didn't see the Black Hole in the drive-in. I saw this one in the theater, but all those other ones I saw in the drive-in.
I saw Superman 2 in the drive-in. I was 79. I was, like I said, 4. So, like, going to see the Black Hole again, probably because it was a Disney movie. But, yeah, the rest I did not see in the theaters. All right, let's rate this thing.
Have you gentlemen seen your midterm grades yet?
Oh, they're not posted yet, sir.
I've seen them.
All right, you know the rules, everybody out there. 0 to 5 is our scale. 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever. Quarter and half scale optional. We'll go to Scary Larry first. Larry, what do you give 1979's The Black Hole?
What, we skip over favorite kill time? What the fuck's going on?
Look, it's not, hey, look, it's not one of those shows.
What kind of episode is this? I had a favorite kill picked out and everything. I'm kidding. Imagine favorite kill time in a Disney movie. Jesus Christ, what's going on? So this movie's a hot fucking mess, right? From, like I said, I know I said it at the beginning. My parents took me to see this in theater. You know, my parents aren't like a lot of parents, right? A lot of parents don't take kids to see scary shit. My parents took me to see Dawn of the Dead in the drive-in. I saw all sorts of scary shit. So, you know, but I do think that based on what John said with the release date, a day after my birthday, it was probably a birthday thing. Strange to me that I never saw it again because I remember enjoying it. And strange to me that I remember absolutely nothing of it. Like I said, it was like a first time watch. I honestly wonder if I just blocked it out. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. like, I don't know. Did I go to a psychiatrist and get like brainwashed of my memories of this film? Did they, you know, take it away from me because I was so traumatized by what a mess this movie is? And again, I'm no Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I was actually offended by some of the science of this film. I really was. The fact that they're just walking around in space to board the other ship. It's fucking the fact that they're just running inches away from a fucking meteor is just mind-boggling to me. You know, John talked at the beginning about how many people wrote this movie. And you didn't really touch on it, but this movie had like kicked around for almost 10 fucking years. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
Like they started writing this movie in the early 70s and didn't put it out till 79. At no time did anybody say, "Hey guys, this shit doesn't make sense.
It don't work."
That said, Maximilian's fun to look at. Vincent, I'd like to slap Bob in his stupid fucking southern accent. I wish I fucking hoorayed out loud when he died when I watched it last night.
I didn't when I was 4, man. I didn't when I was 4.
I was like, fuck you, Bob, and your stupid fucking accent. Who would ever give a fucking southern accent to a robot?
Star put me in a broom closet and shoved a mop handle up my rectum hole.
Oh, this movie has so fucking many problems. And like I said, one of the biggest problems is just the awful acting by some of this Ernest Borgnine, easily his worst job ever. Perkins, just not a good actor anyway.
Not a good actor, and he also seems to really be phoning this in. Like, this seems like a paycheck. Big time.
Yeah, it seemed like a paycheck. I mean, Forrester's fine, but Forrester's Forrester, right? Like, he's like a Jeff Goldblum. Like,
yeah,
he's just the same guy in every fucking movie. Like,
yeah,
he's not acting.
Much.
So he's just Forrester. He's fine. He's just doing what Robert Forster does. I got to rate this on a scale of 1 to I don't know, 1.5. It's a 1.5, I guess.
1.5.
I don't know. It's not. I mean, the science offended me, but the movie itself didn't. I found some fun nostalgia there in watching a 70s science fiction film, and some of the effects were actually pretty good for 1979. That said, story convoluted, the acting bad, the science not there. 1.5.
All right, fair. I'm going to go higher, but I'm going to admit that this is higher because reasons, like it's nostalgic for me. This was something I grew up watching a lot as a kid. I have the DVD. I've thrown it in a couple times. As a matter of fact, very funny story is that I watched this year on Christmas morning, and I logged it into my letterbox, and I watched it 2 years ago on Christmas Eve morning, randomly. I like the music in this movie. John Barry, who did a lot of the Bond stuff, did the score for this. I do like the effects. I like the matte paintings. I like the look of the film. The science of the film is fucking horrendous. You're right. The look, robot ESP, like what the fuck?
Oh, God.
Like what the fuck? Just like if the idea was that we had to have it so that the characters could talk to Vincent, just do what they did with R2 and give him a communicator.
Right.
Or
maybe she has an earpiece
and
he can talk directly to her.
Yeah. It seems like in a movie that's grounded in as much reality as an outer space movie could be, to suddenly throw in like ESP with robots just seems so fucking bizarre.
Palm trees in your fucking vegetable garden.
Palm trees and poison ivy in the vegetable garden.
Or snow. It was snowing in the garden.
When they were going through at the end, because, the hull was ripped, so obviously that would cause snow.
It would cause snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, snow in my space garden. It sounds like a Stone Temple Pilots record.
It does, and actually Robot ESP sounds like a really great band name. Yeah, and you're right, like Vincent, as much as I kind of have nostalgia and like Vincent, he's also a douchebag of a character with all of his little quips. And then when you factor in like why does he have like the Three Stooges package going on? Like, why does he keep on making like these silly noises? And why does he have googly eyes?
Oh, God.
None of that makes sense.
No.
But there is still a high nostalgia value to this. So I gave it a higher rating on Letterboxd, but as it often happens when we discuss movies, your or Lloyd's or Laura's or anybody's opinion on here will sometimes make my eyes open up a little bit. I'm going to go higher than you, but I can go no higher than a 2.75. As a movie itself, I
feel that's generous.
I'll admit it's generous. My Letterboxd score is higher because I think I'm letting nostalgia guide the way a little bit, but because there are things I do like. I love the fact that, look, whether this is a Disney movie or not, I love the fact that it's like just gets unexpectedly dark in weird places. Like Durant's murder with Maximilian. And then that, like, again, it has to be seen to be understood, but like that weird fucking hell scene at the end. It's just like, what is happening here? This is so fucking odd. I'm going to go 2.75. All right. So that is, The Black Hole. Hopefully next week, Lloyd isn't too busy to be on, or I'll have to call Larry in. Hopefully Jen doesn't like lose an arm or something in like a lawn mowing accident or some shit, but Larry will still be here. You could find us on Facebook at the Pint of Pop Culture Podcast, Instagram, and Threads, which I never use Threads. I don't know even why I say that anymore.
Yeah, I joined it, and I get notifications on it, like people are doing things.
Yeah, same.
I've never been back.
Yeah, I don't go on it either, but if you want to find us in either of those and follow us, it's at the Pint Podcast. Of course, if you want to check out all of Larry's stuff, you can go to Connecticut.
Look at my stuff.
Look at Larry's stuff.
Look upon my stuff.
Go to Larry's new band's website, robotesp.org.
Album Snow in the Space Garden.
Dude, if you do that would be awesome. Go to ConnecticutCultClassics.com and check out what's going on. Larry, what is the next show in February? What do you got going on here?
February is, what's the date on that? February 10th, which was my high school girlfriend's birthday.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just tell a quick story. I've wanted to show a couple of anthology movies for a long time. I showed the original Creep Show. I think it was my second show.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, it was Stephen King night. I think it was. It was. No, I don't even think it was the second show. It was Creepshow and maybe Christine. So I've already shown Creepshow, which is arguably the best anthology horror movie of all time.
Right.
So I've always had the idea that I wanted to show Creepshow 2 and Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Because if you know about these films, you'll know that George Romero directed Creepshow. And George Romero directed Creepshow 2. And then George Romero wanted to do Creepshow 3, but they kind of kicked him off the project. So he did Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, instead. So that is the real Creepshow 3. Because if you've ever actually seen Creepshow 3, it's a piece of shit.
I didn't think I knew there was a Creepshow 3.
Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. And I enjoy Creepshow 2. It's not to the same level that Creepshow is. But Creepshow 2's fun. The Indian one's fun. The Thanks for the Ride Lady. That's, the
Raft. The Raft
is fucking great. And Tales from the Dark Side is great, right? You've got the wraparound with Blondie, Debbie Harry.
Yeah.
And then you've got the one with Christian Slater and what's his fucking name?
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, thank you. God, I almost called him Mr. Pink. That story. There's just fucking David Johansen. With the cat.
Yeah. Oh, the fucking James Remar and Ray Don Chung with the demon. Yeah, that's good.
The gargoyle.
Yeah.
Right. Fucking fantastic. So that was George Romero, and that should have been Creepshow 3. So I've always wanted to show those two together. Every time I talked about it, somebody would always throw out another anthology movie. They're like, well, why don't you do Trilogy of Terror? Karen Black, it's one of the greatest. The Karen Black story in Trilogy of Terror is probably the greatest anthology story of all time. Not as a whole movie, but just that one story. Then somebody will be like, well, what about, this anthology movie? Or what about this one? So I said, fuck it. I'll put a vote up on the website and I'll prove everybody wrong when Creepshow 2 and Tales from the Dark Side win. As is my lot in life, neither of those fucking movies win. I think they finished like 4th and 5th, respectively. So I said, okay, I'll show the fucking winners. The winner by a landslide was Twilight Zone, the movie, which I love.
Yeah.
I'm completely fine showing Twilight Zone, the movie. The one that came in second was actually Body Bags, which I cannot find the licensing for. I believe it was made for cable TV, which makes it hard. Yeah. Makes it hard sometimes. So I went with what came in third place, but it only came in third by one vote. Body Bags beat Tales from the Hood by one vote. So I got Tales from the Hood. So we're doing Tales from the Hood and Twilight Zone, the movie, on February 10th.
That'll be a fun night. I saw Tales from the Hood once. I think I remember enjoying it.
Yep.
But either way, that'll be a fun night. And remember, Larry, next time, no, you don't have to do a vote. You're the guy. Like, you just make it happen. People will go.
They will, but these nights aren't for me.
No, well, they kind of are a little tiny.
I'm not. I mean, in some respects, but my whole purpose behind these was showing, because I've said it a million times. I was lucky enough that my parents were bad parents and took me to see a lot of these movies in the theater and in drive-ins as a kid. A lot of, especially younger people, never got the chance to see these movies in theaters. So that was kind of the point behind it all for everybody else. So if they want to see those, then fuck it. We're doing it, man.
We're doing this live.
We're doing it live. We'll do it live.
Do it live. Well, February 10th. When do tickets go on sale, Larry?
January 6th, right? Is that a Friday? I think it is. It's a Saturday, so probably January 5th. I usually do it on Fridays.
All right, so go to Connecticut Cult Classics and get your tickets. We'll be there. You'll see me at the very least. And we'll have a good time, and we'll watch some anthology films. And, of course, if you already haven't, you can go to Patreon/The Pint Insider. $2 or $2.50 or $4 will get you some level of extra entertainment from us. A lot of good stuff coming on the show, including Scary Larry's House of Horrors Hammer Horror. We'll be doing that this year. Very excited about that. So until next time, see you on the other side of the black hole.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!